With the current economic climate, it can really take a toll on our mental health. With bad mental health can sometimes make it harder for us to manage our finances. With money being one of the biggest causes of stress in the UK, it's really important that we are taking the steps needed to look after our mental health. Now, because of this, I'm joined with Charlotte Emily Price to delve into some very crucial tips to help us manage our mental well-being. Hi, Charlotte. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me here.
It's so weird because, like we said before recording, I have followed you for definitely over a year now. So it's really weird to see you in the flesh, and I'm very excited to chat to you.
Yeah, no, I'm ready to talk about mental health.
Yes. So obviously, before we delve into all things mental health, please introduce yourself to everyone listening.
Okay, so I'm Charlotte Emily Price, and I'm a digital creator and podcaster myself with a big focus on mental health, well-being after suffering with mental health issues in the past, specifically at uni. Then I also talk about body image, periods, sexual well-being, like a little bit of everything, basically. I just want to break down taboos and make people feel good about themselves.
And you do a good job of that. You're literally like a sunshine in like online form. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like you're because I feel that's really hard when you follow some content creators. You follow them because you think you're going to get something out of it, and then you quickly realise you actually make me feel really shit about myself. I never really share. Normally swear on the podcast, but sometimes it makes you feel really bad about yourself. And honestly, whenever I see your content, it's such feel-good content that I'm just like, I'm here for Charlotte, and I'm here for it.
Good. That's exactly what I want to convey, but I never know if that's actually coming across until I actually speak to people in real life. I'm like, oh,
yeah. No, and you need people that don't take themselves too seriously. You create great content. You go traveling as well, which I love to check out. Obviously, Costa Rica, just been another trick as well. So yeah, I'm always dabbling and watching your content, which I love. And I guess for people kind of listening, what inspired you to actually share content online?
Just content in general or mental health?
Anything. What made you start posting online? And I guess what made you go down the angle of like mental health well-being as well?
So starting out, I think I wanted a creative outlet. I felt like I enjoyed science and everything at school, and I did a forensic science degree.
Oh, wow.
And then now I'm obviously doing this, which is so random. So I think I wanted to find friends, which is kind of always an embarrassing thing to say. When I was at school, I didn't really click with anyone on the creative side that much, so I used the online space to basically find a community. And that's what I guess I've done over the years, like growing a community, which is so fun now that I've got friends that enjoy the same stuff as me. So I think that was the first thing that inspired me, and also I just really enjoyed picking up a camera and making fun clips and like hopefully finding people along the way. And then I decided to speak more about mental health when I was struggling at uni. Before, it was very student focused or beauty and lifestyle and fashion. I feel like I was trying to fit into a mold. And then when I started having a bad mental health spell, I was like, I want other people to know that this is happening to me, and I want other people, because I know there's so many people out there that is also going through that, to know that it's okay to talk about it and make and bring happiness into your life by speaking to other people or going to get help or seeking advice, So I think that's what inspired me. It's just like, I feel like rubbish, but I know I can get out of this and I can help other people hopefully do that or spark their change.
Yeah, and normalise it, I guess. Like, because money's one taboo, but then I guess mental health is another big one. And I think we're definitely getting better at talking about mental health for sure, but I do think there's a lot of people that still do suffer in silence. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. And money, I think, is probably one of the biggest still. Like, I don't think we obviously cracked it a bit, but still no one wants to talk about money.
No, they don't. And how long have you been posting content online now?
So I started blogging in 2014. So it all started written because I loved writing. And I feel like it's just transformed into video over the years. And then, so I've been really into the whole online space since early days.
And here we are now, which is incredible. I guess obviously we're here to talk about money and mental health. So I'm keen to know, Charlotte, just so our listeners can know you a little better, what's one thing you love to spend your money on?
What a great question. I feel like experiences is probably what I enjoy spending my money on.
Yes.
And maybe me and my friend were talking about this the other day, and I feel like rent seems like a silly one to say because like, well, who wants to spend money on rent?
Yeah.
But I love living in London, so I'm like, do I like enjoy spending money on rent then? Because I love where I live. So maybe that's like a strange one. But overall experiences like traveling or doing something with a friend. Maybe a silly little coffee here and there.
I mean, you're here, there, everywhere. You went to see Shania Twain, didn't you?
Yeah, this is Shania Twain last night.
Well, this is the thing, and I think again, like I focus heavily on like how important it is to manage your finances and things like that. But it is all about balance, and it is about yes, managing your finances, but also enjoying the experiences because life is so short, which I'm sure you know as well.
For sure.
So I love that answer. And then I guess another question I have for you is, if you had to give yourself one piece of financial advice for your younger self, what would it be?
Ooh. I think I would tell myself to read more
Oh, okay.
about financial,
Yeah.
like find financial advice online
Yeah.
or speak to someone or find an advisor online. I think because growing up, I didn't really know much about money. I guess my background, I didn't really see savings or investment or anything to do with that. And then
Yeah.
obviously school doesn't teach you anything at all. So combined within like my family unit, I guess, and my family being taboo about money anyway.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like it was spoken about in my daily life, which meant that I have no idea about it now.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. But would you say living in London and obviously you've gone to uni, so you've had to manage your money. Do you think you've got better at managing your finances as time's gone on?
Yeah, I think budgeting is probably the only thing I really knew because I guess that's what I grew up with.
Yes.
So yeah, budgeting and then going into uni life and probably here and there treating myself because that's something I couldn't do when I was younger. I was like, oh. So yeah, I feel like even now I don't really know much about it, which I think is why I was so inclined to come on to be like, it's okay to be 25 and not really know what you're doing with your money.
Yeah. Like we said, and this is why I love you, Charlotte, as a content creator, because you speak so candidly about so many different topics. So we're not going to talk about grief today, but grief being another one of them. So yeah, I really relate to you on that level when you are just so open and candid about your like experiences, and I really appreciate that, which is why I had to have you on. And obviously today's topic is all about mental health, mental well-being. So obviously, like I said, the economic climate is really tough for a lot of people. Some people losing jobs, some people don't even know if they're going to have a job next week, some people are struggling to make ends meet. So I guess now more than ever, why is it really important that people look after their mental well-being?
I think we're also caught up because of that, and obviously some people can't just go and get a job or make money. They're having to hustle more or be super productive all the time. Like my mum has multiple jobs, do you know what I mean? Like running about. So you can't really always prioritize your mental health, even though it should be something we prioritize every day. But I think if you can find that 5-10 minutes, like even something as little as that time, can make such a big difference. And even I know when I'm rushing about and trying to fit all these things in, and I'm like, oh, I won't make it as a person, as a personal business if I don't work all the time. I can tell it takes toll on my mental health, and then I'm less productive.
Yeah.
And it's just a big, messy.
Yeah, I
messy
agree.
cycle,
Like for me, and I've been very honest about this, is that running a business this year, I've found it as like my hardest year yet. And I've been running All Things Money for 4 years. And it's so easy to allow yourself to be in that spiral and actually not look after your mental health. Like I've like had peaks and troughs, as most people have, and I think it's really important to be honest about that. And like you said, it's really important that you're not getting yourself into a spiral, and you probably need to realise when you're actually feeling low, because I feel like some of us are on autopilot all the time, aren't we? And we very rarely actually take stock of how we're actually feeling.
Yeah, no, and for me, I love journaling, but I know those 5-10 minutes of everyone's day could be spent on something that relaxes them or grounds them in some way. I know meditation really works for some people, breath work, journaling, like there's so many different outlets, so you don't have to just be like, oh, she's told me to journal, I need to journal now. That doesn't work for everyone. And even try it a few times, because when I first heard of journaling, I was like, what's that gonna do? But if you find something that works for you, whether that is writing gratitudes, which is such a common one, which I do find nice at the end of the day, but even just writing down your thoughts and being like, I feel like this today, what's worrying me, what's stressing me out, is there anything that I can do today that will minimize that stress? Like, it does help.
Yeah. And that's what I think I need to get better at. And I think a lot of us, again, because we're on autopilot, we're working 9 to 5s, running businesses, we say we don't have a spare 5 minutes. And we do. If we really looked for it, we do. And gratitude is something, like I say, I'm in my era of like gratitude and patience right now, because this year has just been about that. Like, I think it's really easy to want to chase the next best thing, but actually not really grateful for everything you've achieved. So I'm trying to practice more gratitude, and I've started journaling, writing think 3 things I'm grateful for at the end of the day, which has helped me. Just, it's the little things, isn't it? I feel like when you're like, for me and most of my listeners here, we're between 20 to 30, right? So we are constantly wanting to chase the next best thing, and we actually don't ever realise the little things to be grateful for as well.
Yeah, and I feel like we're our own biggest critic. Like that's like a common thing.
Yeah.
So sitting down and finding 3 things is just not common for us to do. But when you do it over time, it's actually like changing our brain chemistry as well, really, like into thinking positively about things in your day. You start like noticing and tuning into it more rather than telling yourself, oh, I've not been productive today, I've not done this, I said I would do this, da, da, da. But if you change that inner monologue by even just writing a few things down, you're like slowly changing the way you're thinking.
And then you realise you actually accomplish so much more. Like I did a LinkedIn post today about how I've really struggled running a business this year, but these are the things I have accomplished for these first 6 months. And if I hadn't, so I actually make a list of achievements whenever I make an achievement or a milestone or whatever. And it's only making lists of that has made me realise actually all of this year hasn't been as bad as what you think it is, because again, you're always comparing yourself to others online, aren't you?
Yeah, I think the comparison is the worst.
Yeah.
In terms of success, I think more than ever in the last couple of years, I think body image and looks obviously will always play a part in some people's lives, but for me specifically, success online is what I compare myself to the most, and that's what I get caught up in. I'm like, I'm not doing enough. How can I do this? Why is she doing this and I'm not? And it's not even, obviously I guess it stems a bit from jealousy, but it's not, I don't not want them to be achieving those things.
I get that.
It's like inspiring. That's why I continue following them. I'm not going to unfollow them.
Yeah, but I think it's probably a case of like, they've achieved this, why am I not achieving that too? Or what's wrong with me that they've managed to get like X opportunity? Or, you know, am I doing something wrong? Or like you just start self-deprecating, I guess, don't you? And
with journaling, then you start looking at it in a positive way, like, oh my God, this girl's doing this. What can I do in my day to achieve this? Or, you know, like the mindset changes. I can tell when I'm journaling and when I'm not, because it's the way I think about other people's situations.
No, I love that. I definitely need to get better at journaling my thoughts, I think. And I'm always good at the beginning of the year and then it tails off. So now we're halfway through the year. I have no excuse because we chatted about it today. And I guess alongside journaling, what are 3 other tips you would recommend for those maybe looking to improve their mental well-being?
I would say, this is obvious one first, is just talk to someone, because even if you're not vibing with the writing, you will definitely, speaking about it will ease the pain or whatever you're going through, in some way, shape or form. It's like the problem shared is a problem halved, and it is so true. Because then you can like, whether you're overthinking and it's anxiety and you've over like not dramatized the situation, because anxiety is obviously a condition, but I think you can like break down that problem with someone else, and you're like, oh wait, this isn't actually something I should be working myself up over. It's fine. So talking to someone, and if you don't feel safe to talk to someone in your real life, go and speak to someone professionally. I would say that to do that anyway, alongside speaking to people in your real life, but just talking is, I think, the biggest medicine for mental health. And like you said, I think mental health is becoming more and more spoken about, which is amazing. And I think we should just keep doing that, because even, I'm sure he won't mind me saying it, but my dad was never open about his mental health his whole life. And when he saw me speaking about it online, he speaks to me about his mental health now. And I just see it in my family, like how open they are at coming to me with their problems, which I love, because I'm like, this is so great. Even 50 years later or whatever, you're able to speak about those things. Trying to think of another mental health tip. I'm trying to think when I was like really low. I'm trying to think of quotes. I feel like quotes pulled me out of the dark, which is so random.
No, but I can get why.
Because sometimes if you're in a bit of a rut and someone says a quote, you're like, leave me alone. Like, how is that going to help? But you know, when you're really in a bad place or something and you sit back and really think about your situation, think, right, I am the only person who's going to get myself out of this now. What quote has helped me like get out of that rut? And I can't remember the one that I'm thinking of. I'll just butcher it instead. It's something about the seasons changing and how obviously they're all temporary, and how your feelings are temporary too. So I think that really helped me remember the times that I was happy and think like, I can get back to this. Because when you are going through like a really dark time, you think, oh, this is going to be it forever. So
Always.
I think you just really have to look back and be like, I have been happy before. I can experience these feelings of lowness, but not to this level. So I need to go seek help and go get help, basically, and speak to someone. I hope that's okay.
No, not at all. And I guess with that tip, I think it's really important with that quote is that seasons do change genuinely, and don't want to be like woo-woo on the podcast today, even though there's nothing wrong with being woo-woo, but it's a case of like remembering that, because a lot of you guys have actually reached out to me about the fact that you don't know what direction you're heading in post uni, like, or you know, you might actually have faced redundancy. Like, times are tough, and I think it's important to remember that these seasons aren't permanent, and I think I need to remember that more so as well now. I think I've been my worst critic this year. So I think it's really important that we all remember that. And I guess, what's one final tip you would say?
I think being in nature, I mean, it's scientifically proven, right, that being in nature can help with your mental well-being, and especially if you're working from home, which is something that I personally experience, and I'm sure a lot of people out there now with the hybrid like working schemes. If you're finding yourself in a rut on your lunchtime break, go out for a walk, even again if it's 5-10 minutes. I feel so refreshed in the mind after that, and I'm like, oh, it is doing something, even if it's a placebo at this point. It's doing something for the brain. So yeah, being out in nature is something that I absolutely love. Like, going for a walk in my day will completely change my mood.
Yeah, no, it's so important. I think, again, if you're working from home, it can be so easy to just want to stay indoors. Like, I can be really bad at that, but I can tell the difference between days I've worked from home and not been to the gym compared to days I've been to the gym or at least gone for a walk, because sometimes you need that serotonin boost, because working like full time, if you're even running a business, Monday to Friday can be so mundane, can be really like, what's the word? So repetitive that you just easily can get into your funk if you're not actually changing up or switching up your routine. So I love that one, and I definitely need to be better at like the walks. I think I'm more of a gym girl rather than a walk person.
Yeah, because I think I like walking because it's really reflective if I don't want to journal.
Yes.
And even if it feels like you're going to be in your head and you're like, oh, I don't really want to walk and think about my feelings, it is going to be helpful, even if it's cathartic and you like have a cry or you go through all of the things that you're worried about.
Yeah.
Because then it's just like, a moment to process those, and then you can get back to work and just, I guess, distract yourself for a bit and then revisit those feelings. It's good to go through them and just not suppress them and stay inside.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I guess to add to your tip, I would say be careful of what you're consuming online. I feel like a lot of us forget that we actually have the power of what we can consume. Yes. I feel like sometimes I've found myself following people that don't make me feel good, or not even like where we spoke about maybe you follow someone that they've maybe done something that makes you feel bad because you haven't achieved it. Muting them temporarily can be fine as well. Like, there's been quite a few creators that I've had to just mute recently because I'm just like, I don't feel good watching your content at the moment, and I just need a break, because again, comparison is the thief of all joy.
Yeah, and you can still enjoy their content and go back to it. You know, it's like, just whilst you're healing in that part of your brain, you can just mute them for a second. Same with friends and family. Like, I always say that if someone's making you feel bad, you don't have to unfollow them and make this big thing about it. Muting is the key.
Yeah, and again, that's something I think a lot of us forget. And also, I think it's really important as well. I don't know about you if you use LinkedIn, but for me, I use LinkedIn. And it's just about setting like time restrictions on how much you're able to scroll. Like, one of my friends is really good. She's got restrictions on the apps, like on the different apps that she can use, and she'll maybe only do like 15 minutes a day on like limit per, which I probably need to do, per day on these apps. And like something like LinkedIn is one I probably need to remove myself out of.
Yeah, I think that one is the worst for comparing with success, I guess. Yeah. But then if you visit on a good day, you're like, wow, like everyone's smashing it. True. This is what I'm gonna do. Yeah. So again, it's going back to like that mute button or having the time restriction where you know your mental health is a bit fragile at that time.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then I guess we spoke about the importance of talking to people. So I guess if there's someone out there that is genuinely really struggling with their mental health but doesn't have like a friend, family member or colleague to reach out to, do you recommend any helplines they could reach out to?
Yeah, I have some helplines. I've got them on me. So I've always got the Samaritans helpline, which is just 988.
Okay.
988. And then, so you can also call the Mind helpline, which is something that I've used and other people that I know have used and is really reputable, is 03001021021234.
Amazing.
And then Samaritans, which is the other like, popular one that people
reach out to. No, amazing. And I guess I think, again, sometimes it can be really easy for us to be like, talk to people. What are some tips you could maybe share with people that maybe are struggling to actually reach out to those people? Or, you know, if you could tell your younger self maybe at uni that maybe you wanted to just burrow away your feelings, what would you tell younger Charlotte at uni to kind of encourage to open up?
I think if you're not comfortable to talk to someone, even if you feel comfortable talking to them about everything else apart from your mental health, like, it's so strange because I feel like I'm quite chatty about stuff, but when I first experienced that feeling, I've really shut off, but not intentionally. I just very much kept myself to myself and was like, oh, I don't want to bring a mood to a situation, which is just never the case. Which is never the case. So back to writing and journaling, but write down how you're feeling and give it to them as a letter.
Wow, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because then you're getting all of those feelings, and probably even more so than what you would say out loud.
Yeah.
You've got a physical copy. You don't even have to watch them read it. You know, if you're really like cringed out about saying how you feel, because that's just how we've been made to feel in this society. Yeah. Write how you're feeling down, I think, and give it to friends, family, and then they can also guide you into those like helplines, go with you to the doctors, you know. So that's what I would say to younger me. Write everything down, like, why aren't you doing that?
But again, it's like hindsight's a beautiful thing, isn't it? And I guess another thing I would add to that is find yourself in safe communities that allow you to speak openly. So I'm sure you're very familiar with like the Gals Who Graduate Facebook group, there's Truly 20s, and those Facebook groups are such safe spaces for women in particular, but there's other mixed gender ones that you can definitely go and find, but they allow you to kind of open up and just share how you're feeling. There's no judgment in these groups. Most of them allow you to post anonymously as well. So, you know, it's something you don't have to stress about worrying that someone in that Facebook is going to judge you or something like that. Yeah, no, and going to someone anonymously is something that people prefer. Like, some people like to confide in their friends, even if they are embarrassed and want to give them the letter. But some people want to keep it completely separate to their friends and family, which is also okay, especially at those first stages of reaching out. So, anything anonymous, I feel like is the best way forward. Yeah, no, I love that. And I guess to kind of round up today's conversation, obviously we spoke about good well-being, but what does good well-being mean to you? I think good well-being to me is balance. I think that's like the word that sort of encapsulates that whole phrase for me, because before I thought well-being was just being really calm and chilled and not doing anything, very zen. Yes. Whereas I realised well-being is a bit of everything. I think growing up is like, I need to work a good decent amount. I need to move my body a decent amount. I need to relax a decent amount. And I feel like my life is just always about trying to find this balance of my well-being. And I think it's probably everyone's. Something slips. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you're working too much, or sometimes you're relaxing too much, and you're like trying to figure out what that balance is. So I think that's what it means to me. Yeah, no, I love that. I think, funnily enough, I actually recorded a podcast episode for a friend's podcast recently, and she spoke about like well-being as like, I think your overall well-being is like your tent, and then you have like your tent poles. So you've got like 4 poles, and you've got like, I don't know, a mental well-being, family, friends, and relationships. And it's kind of like how tall are these poles erected that allow you to work out the balance of all of these 4 poles, which is quite interesting. And for me, I was like, most of them are good apart from my love life. But I guess, you know, the overall tent analogy allows you to kind of work out, okay, these are my 4 like structures. They don't have to be the 4 that I mentioned. It can literally be as simple as, I don't know, work, friends, mental health. And it's that overall, I guess, well-being and looking after ourselves. Because like I said, guys, times are genuinely tough, and I think it's okay to accept when you're not feeling okay. Yeah, absolutely. I love analogies. When you said that, I was like, love that. It's like back to the seasons. I love seeing like my moods as seasons. I'm like, oh, that's lovely. Yeah. And I guess, I mean, most of the people that do listen to this podcast are female, so I'm happy to talk about it. And you do speak openly about periods, but I think it's also important to work out when your summer and your winter are. Yeah. I love that. It's in that book by Maisie Hill, Period Power. Yes. And she describes each of the stages of the cycle. So I'm currently in my follicular phase, which is why I'm so smiley and happy. And it's my favourite time. I'm like, I get a week of this and then it goes back to hell. Yes. So I try and you like move your body more in this time, and you are more productive. You need less, you don't need as much sleep. Whereas like on your period, you need more sleep. And learning about your body is so interesting because then you can maximise your well-being, because you're like, I'm in my luteal phase before my period or on my period, so I should do low movement exercise. Yeah, or put yourself in a position where you're not maybe taking too many calls or something. And I've learned that massively running a business, because I feel like working a full-time job, you're kind of, I guess some of your tasks can sometimes be the same, but when you're running a business, you have to be self-motivated to want to do things. And so I've really learned the importance of actually working out when my summer and winter are, because during my winter, I'm moody, I'm depressed, I'm miserable. Those are the days where I don't want to go to the gym, I don't want to talk to anyone. things online get to me way more.
Yeah, it should be like, I need to limit myself this week or whatever. Yeah.
No, so I think that's really important if you are a woman listening to the podcast today. And I guess my final question to you, Charlotte, is if you had to give one final piece of advice to those listening that are genuinely worried about the current climate, worried about their finances, what would you give them?
Find the community thing is the big thing for me. So looking back at when I felt worried about like the current climate and everything, is like finding community, speaking about your worries to someone else in a similar situation, or finding these groups like you mentioned, like Gals Who Graduate, where you can find other women or anyone that's in a similar situation to you to talk it out and try, I guess uplift each other to try and say that this is just like a temporary point, and hopefully with the new government change something happens.
Yeah, I would like to think so.
Okay,
hopefully. Yeah. I mean,
it's just something different. So I'm like, come on, like hopefully something can happen here. But I mean, who knows?
Yeah, no, I agree. Fingers crossed. I mean, 4 years is quite a short time to make radical change.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But no, thank you so much, Charlotte, for joining me on the podcast today. You have shared amazing tips for those, to help those that might be struggling with their mental health. Honestly, mental health and well-being in general is so crucial to look after, guys. So please, please, please do speak to someone if you are genuinely worried. Like Charlotte mentioned, you've got Samaritans, you've got Mind Charity. If you're worried about your finances, then you've got Christians Against Poverty, you've got Step Change, all of those brilliant organisations, and I'll leave all of the links in the podcast description. But Charlotte, like I said, I'm kind of a fangirl of your content. You create great content. You've also got a podcast. So if anyone would like to check you out, where can they go to do so?
So I'm just Charlotte Emily Price on all social medias, and then my podcast is It's Your Life, and I just basically interview everyone from different walks of life and talk about things like periods, grief, sexual well-being, like literally everything. So there's something on there for someone.
Yeah, no, amazing. Well, guys, please go and check her out. And Charlotte, thank you so much again for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.